Hello, guten Tag und grüß Gott. Today is Sunday, August 25th, 2024. And it's been a couple of weeks since my last video. But have no fear. I will talk about what's happening today and last couple of weeks. Oh, no problem here. Anyway, I'm just here with my good buddy, the Ghost, right here next to me. And I'm compelled to do another video. So we have just finished the Olympics. And of course, the United States and China were the ones that swept all of the medals. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, China had a few more gold medals than the United States. And I'm not so sure in what. But I do understand that they got beat in table tennis, if there was such a thing. And that would be remarkable because the Chinese are really good at that. But evidently the total medal count, is still in favor of the United States. And, the Russians that are always big participants, of course, they weren't there as a nation. But some of the athletes did manage to compete. So we're done with the Olympics. I didn't watch much of it. But I guess a good time was had in Paris. There were no explosions. There were, probably a few protests. And I think there were some arrests made. Because the Israeli and Palestinian issue still weighs heavily on people's minds. Anyway, so in the meantime, then we've had the Democratic Convention, and it was well publicized in the media. As a matter of fact, I watched some of the speeches, including the nominee for president, which is Kamala Harris, and the vice president nominee, Tim Walz of Minnesota. And I kind of thought that Minnesota was a little more conservative state, but it's really the big cities that do elect the people to run the state, and so Minnesota is it's right next to Chicago, just north of Illinois, and so it has a lot of immigrants, and also Minneapolis basically is host to people from Somalia and so on. And as a matter of fact, we have a congresswoman from that district. I can't remember her name right now, but I know she talked about the Benjamins, so, and the Benjamins meaning she was talking about the Jews, and how, well, I guess how bad and evil they are, but let's not forget who attacked and who started this thing in Gaza right now. You could say that the Israelis started it, and I did a video on that. But, that was a long, long, long time ago, when the Israelis got their country and subsequently were attacked by the Arab countries around. And the Israelis, with the help of America, won and took some territory back that caused them a lot of grief, including the West Bank and, some other areas. But, the Palestinians, they're still shouting from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. So they're not giving up. And of course, they have a lot of help from Iran, Lebanon, Syria, and all of the Arab surrounding countries that, are basically in their corner. And, I just don't know anymore. It was so clear, on that infamous October 7th last year, the attack, the Hamas came and took about 1,000 or so Israelis, kidnapped them, from actually a music venue and all over the place. And, at that time it was pretty clear that, well, they started it, so they need to be hammered. But the hammering has been going on now for a long time, and tens of thousands of Gazans that probably had not a damn thing to do with this particular incident, even though they're probably Israeli haters like the Gazans are. Uh, but did they deserve to die? Of course not. And I think America is, the Biden administration has really been trying to do something about, stopping the carnage. And it's difficult because Hamas wants something, and the Israelis want their people back. And of course, Hamas wants the country back, so to speak. And, so the negotiations, there are actually negotiations going on, but it's a really difficult subject because, as we talked about it before, this problem goes back all the way to 1948, when the Jewish state was established, and even before then, as migration from oppressed Jews all over the world, was encouraged to go back to their homeland, which they consider their homeland. And the ones that are considering that their homeland, they're called the Zionists, because they, God gave them Zion, so to speak. So, yeah, enough of that kind of thing. But it's interesting to watch the Democratic convention. It's heavily, heavily attended. And, the security in Chicago was also tremendous because it was also heavily protested, especially by Palestinian protesters. And so it was kind of dicey, to see whether something bad's going to happen. And fortunately, nothing bad happened. And the Democrats were able to nominate Kamala Harris for president and Tim Walz from Minnesota as vice president. So here we go. The slugfest is now going to start in earnest, and Biden is kind of out of it. He kind of passed the torch. So he is the president all the way through January, and so we'll see what he does as a lame duck president. It's going to be interesting to see that, because if there's going to be a disparity between the old administration and the new administration, some of the signs are going to show up. Okay, but anyway, even Mrs. Obama was up there talking about her humble beginnings, and talking about how they're going to stick it to the rich, right? Of course, she's now one of the rich. The Obamas, have about 4 mansions throughout the country. According to some of the news articles, which you can't necessarily believe, their net worth is somewhere short of 20 million or so. They also only travel by private jet. So they're leading a lifestyle of the rich that they're condemning, And if the Obamas want to pay more taxes, and that's fine. They can volunteer to pay more taxes, But, to advocate that everybody should be paying more taxes is just a Democratic trope, So, yeah, we all came from poor beginnings, and now, we're going to stick it to the rich, which is to us. Does that make any sense? I tell you, and I think though that the Republicans don't really have it in terms of the message. Trump goes out there, and insults everybody, and that's kind of fun. And of course, I'm going to vote for him because I see him as the disruptor of you know politics as usual. And yeah, there's probably going to be chaos at the White House and so forth. But every once in a while, when the ship of state is kind of leaning to one side too hard, you need somebody to kind of fix it, and right it. And in terms of Trump's motivation, uh, well, he's already been president. So I mean, if this was something about aggrandizing, he is he was the last president before Biden. So he's running for a second term, and you got to ask yourself exactly why would a man put himself through this shit? Um, you know, and I've got to be thinking that with all the nastiness that he's doing, and he understands what nasty is. Um, maybe this is the road to the White House, for him. Although I think that the Democrats with you know, um, Kamala Harris, who claims to be a black woman, uh, is going to be occupied by her in the future. I would really be surprised, if the Republicans can pull this off. And there has to be a huge stumble on the Democratic side in order for that election to be swung to the right. Because right now, I think the Democrats do have a momentum, and who doesn't want to hear? We're going to solve poverty. We're going to solve crime. We're going to solve all these problems. Everybody wants to hear that. The problem with that is, of course, who the hell was in charge for the last 4 years? And what did they do? Did they solve the crimes? All we hear about Biden, is that he was trying to give away trying to make us pay for the parties, that the students have incurred, in terms of their debt. Oh yeah, let's forgive that. Let's forgive that they had a good time. And the taxpayer should be paying for that. Of course, it doesn't make any sense. But it has broad appeal because look how nice the Democrats are. And they also, give money away to social programs and so forth because, they're really the nice people. And, and isn't it Christian, to, have, to help the poor? And, and so here's the Democratic strategy is really killer good because it works for them so well, is they keep the poor, um, and they give them just enough to kind of get by so they can make it to the voting booth. I'm getting a little bit too overcome by this hilarious thing. Anyway, and so they put all these programs out, for people, and if they start to go to work and work hard and make something of themselves, they suddenly turn into Republicans, and the Democrats don't want that. I'll give you the example of the state of Florida. Here, massive immigration from Cuba, and I remember Reagan saying, "Well, this is, there'll be one time that we do this." Anyway, and of course, they voted. They were all poor, because they had to start out from scratch, and they voted for Democrats. So all of the elections, until I think DeSantis, basically. We're all, from the blue state of Florida, which is no longer a blue state because these people that came here and they worked hard, which, by the way, is also one of the sayings from the Democrats, you work hard, let's go to work and stuff like this. But what they're going to work on is how to get votes, okay? So they're asking their cadre, the people to go out and get people to the voting booth. No, I know in Chicago they used to, the precinct captains, they used to pick up their people in buses, and take them to the voting booths. And now you don't really have to do this. All you have to do is really lie to them, about that you're going to help them and that you're going to make things better. And when they believe you, they will just gladly send the ballot in the mail to you. Well, the Cubans in Florida, they figured out that it's the Democrats that are taking their money in taxes, and they're the ones that are causing the problems, and blaming the Republicans because it's a Christian thing, if you have two coats and you meet somebody that has none, give him one. All right. Anyway, so that's clearly the big news, and tragically, war will be with us, for I guess for the duration of humanity, unless the AI somehow manage to change that. I'm not sure that just regular evolutionary progress can get us to the point, to not rip each other's heads off. So every time that we thought, that, hey, we're kind of done with war, who in the hell wants war? Nobody really wins, when there's war. And so what happened? Well, another war. So in any case, this, even I talked about Yuval Harari, one of my favorite authors. Talks about what how far our humanity has come. He was really positive there until a couple of years ago, until the Ukraine. He kept talking about there are more people starving now from too much food. Obesity, or dying from too much food. Due to obesity and so forth, and health problems, than all the conflicts around the globe. Well, that has changed, and what has changed is that humanity basically got back to what is so human to do, and that is fight each other. Okay, and and of course everybody wants world peace. Have you ever thought that can you argue against world peace? Well, I tell you what, I'll give you an argument against world peace. If we have world peace, we can't have the changes that are coming that we're bringing about, because there really is something evolutionary going on in being concerned about your life, your armaments, and survival. And sometimes, it's just discontentment, that causes, wars. Not always, that, I want somebody else's, the other guy's stuff. But, of course, mostly it's about that. But I tell you what, the Ukraine war isn't just about that land. I think Putin falls right in that category that I'm talking about of discontentment, because he wants his old Russia back. He always said, that the falling apart of the Soviet Union, Gorbachev, was the biggest mistake Russia ever made. And he kept saying that, and that was his mantra. And I believe him. I think this is exactly why he went to the Ukraine. It didn't make any sense, to just extend his border because of security to Mother Russia. Well, whether the border is right there in the Donetsk region, at the far eastern side of the Ukraine, or whether the border is on the western side, with Poland, what the hell is the difference to Putin? So it's not about the Ukraine so much. It's about Russia. And he's discontent with the fact, that Russia has lost its huge place in the world. as the second most powerful nation. Of course, they still have the nukes, but they're just barely getting by. As a matter of fact, the Ukrainians are making some progress there in the Kursk region. And so at least, there is a distraction, from the Donetsk region that Russia has already annexed. Um, and the Ukrainians don't agree with that. Well, anyway, yeah, as written in the Apocalypse in the Bible, there's war, and there will be rumors of war, and brother will be fighting brother, and, humanity will be fighting each other. We don't have aliens to fight. There are no more dinosaurs. So we have to fight each other. Well, anyway, I think this is pretty much it for this video. So I bid you farewell. And, well, maybe one more thing I need to mention. Next week is going to be a really tough week for us because my wife, Marge, has to go in for a knee replacement on Tuesday. And that's always a traumatic thing, If you have to go for surgery in a hospital, even though it's a great hospital over here in Southern California at Hoag, it's still, it's traumatic, They have all these great drugs, and when she comes out, she'll probably feel good, and then the next day, oh, shit, that kind of thing. But anyway, so we're going to have our hands full both ways, but I love my wife, and I will do all I possibly can to take care of her. As a matter of fact, this is what I like to do as being a good husband. Anyway, auf Wiedersehen, farewell, and so long.